and welcome to We Women Want. This is a weekly show where we explore issues related to women. We talk to women achievers. We try and help those who need the support. In fact, the show is fast becoming a support group, not just for women, but also for men who'd like to know how women think. So today on the show, we're going to be exploring a very interesting topic. I've got clinical psychologists, I've got therapists. We're going to be talking about mental health. Now, this of course is a topic that's not just restricted to women, but today we're going to be talking about issues that women deal with in their day-to-day lives. How are they different from the issues that men deal with? What are the age groups that are coming for therapy? Is this something that is a post-pandemic that people are coming out more? You'll be quite surprised to know that everything is not just related to just marriages or weight-related issues. There are a whole lot of other issues also that women are concerned about and do want to talk about. Joining me on the show today is Sonal Chadha. She is a lead clinical psychologist with Listen. There is Shrishti Srivastav, she's the founder and CEO of InfiHeal, and Ambika Chawla, she's also the lead clinical psychologist at Listen. These are mostly tech-enabled mental health apps. Sonal, would you first tell us a bit about what Listen is and what went into the thinking, because it's a new, I think it's 2 years old or 3 years old.
Yeah. So we are actually a 2-year-old company, but we are one of the fastest growing in India. And the idea was all about, our founders were also realized the need of mental health. And coming from a background of IIT themselves, so they explored that this is something which is untapped. People are not talking about it. There's a need to this as well. And that's when they thought of forming Listen. So Listen started as a tech-enabled, but then once we got into the area, we realized it's much bigger. And we need more ways of dealing with it. So that's when the on-ground operations also came in. We started with one area which got really hit was IVF in the beginning.
Yes, so, we in fact had a lot of shows on IVF also.
Yeah. So IVF itself is a difficult journey for a female, coming with a point of view where you're trying for a child. There is a lot of hope that you have put in a treatment, and yet the treatment is not 100% in its own way. So at that time, emotionally they struggled a lot, and not a lot of us are talking about it. So that was one of the initial vertical that we started with. Then we realized that health psychology, other areas also need the same. So dialysis came on board. Then we got old age geriatric population. Psychiatry obviously is there. Then students, you'll be surprised to know how many students these days are competing and they're struggling with their mental health to cope up with the pressure of the number of getting into the competitive exam. So that also got into the space.
Instagram, social media doesn't help. It adds to the pressure, I'm sure.
It does, So if you look at just the way of social media it's just portraying a constant perfect life.
I'm going to go into the social media part later. But Shrishti, a bit about what you do and what your app does.
Sure. Yes. At InfiHeal, we are building the world's most advanced AI coach for mental health. AI coach, yes.
Okay, how does that work?
The idea is to have like a pocket assistant for any problem that may come up, Basically to triage problems based on the severity. So if it's a less severe problem, you can perhaps get help through the AI chatbot itself. If it's a more significant problem, we can match you to 800 plus therapists in our network. And if you are distressed, really severely distressed, we can match you to a distress helpline within our network as well.
Interesting.
So
But is it all digital or is it face to face?
It is face to face, ma'am. It is online. The therapy part is through it's a telehealth thing, so you can actually access it via the app itself.
And what are the issues that people are coming with, women especially, since we are focusing on women?
Sure, ma'am. Ma'am, we're largely having a lot of relationship issues because we're catering to the student category. So we have a lot of relationship issues. We have like friendship breakups. We have, of course, work stress, miscarriages, postpartum depression. Those are the common areas that we get.
So, Ambika, a bit about, she's told us what Listen does, but what, again, I would like you to expand more on the issues that women are facing nowadays and coming to you, apart from IVF is one, relationship issues.
Yeah. So, the profile that Listen caters to is largely, it spreads across from adolescent to even geriatrics. So we, infertility, you can say, is one of the areas where we see women clients. But apart from that, we start them, right from adolescent. So kids who are preparing for competitive exams. That's where we start seeing a girl, and then eventually when they're going for marriage. So I've seen cases where pre-marriage cases, pre-marriage counseling, post-marriage counseling.
So what are the pre-marriage questions that women come to you with?
So they want to be sure whether they're going for the right match. They what should they expect after marriage? What will be the issues? If their partners is compatible with them or not. So they have concerns around that because it's a big transition in life. We can't deny that. Like marriage is completely going to take a U-turn in their life. So talking about compatibility, their fears. In general, that I'm a little fearful if I'll be able to adjust to the new environment or not. My in-laws are such. I have this kind of outlook towards life. So how to match, how to come to a middle ground. So mostly around that. There are post-marriage counselings as well. So women who've just got married 2 years, 3 years. I'm seeing a lot of cases like that where they've gotten married, and these days they're working also. So they're not able to adjust with that. Totally demanding environment of the in-laws and the family. So how to adjust to that, and with that they're also having couple issues, marital discords. So how to handle that as well, and then sexual intimacy going down because they're so career focused.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would say an intermix of a lot of issues eventually come up. And then when they're not able to conceive further, like moving ahead in the journey, they're not able to conceive, so fertility issues come in. And then, I mean, they further, if they want to go for separation, divorce, all of those question marks keep coming in.
But we started talking about social media. Is that, I like what you said, that everybody wants to show the perfect life, and it's not really so. So that adds to the pressure.
It does, if I am just mindlessly scrolling, what am I putting in my head? I'm constantly putting that everybody apart from me has a very perfect and a beautiful life. They're going out, they're meeting friends, they're going on trips, they're spending their life the way they want, whereas I am at my end is struggling with my life. So that, constant comparison leads to a lot of time that probably I'm not good enough or I'm not worth it. That's why these things are not coming to me. And that belief system, if it's triggered, then we start comparing more to the surroundings in order to validate ourselves or reassure ourselves that, we can do it, we are worth it. So at that time, they actually need a lot of support within the
And
system.
is it both men and women who come to you, or is it more women, or you can't generalize?
See, I would say they both come. It really depends on the personality traits, the individuality. I really can't put a finger that the male needs it or a female needs it more. Whereas the females are more open towards mental health.
Okay.
At least that's my experience, right? Females are more open, and it's a female dominating field also, you'll see more of a psychologist.
Well, that's good to know.
in females. So they are more open to talk to a female, whereas males at times prefer a male, and which becomes a little difficulty to find a male psychologist or a therapist in the field. So yeah, that's that.
And at the same time, like I would like to add, they're more open, plus they somewhere also have like more issues than male in the society in general.
As in, explain.
If I go back to the marriage case scenario, so a woman has to deal with the in-laws, the family responsibilities, household responsibilities, along with, let's say, if she's also working at the same time. So how to manage both the things, how to have a balance out of that. So I mean, making sure that she has work-life balance and everyone's happy, yet there are a lot of pressures coming in, and then she also has to start a family soon.
Yeah.
So I would say that they are also in a higher need than men, but definitely, I mean, both of them would eventually require it.
Okay. So, Srishti, before, we were talking earlier, and you had, mentioned something about being neurodivergent. Now, it's something that I heard for the first time. So, maybe you could share with us what exactly does that mean?
Ma'am, before that, I would like to add to her point.
Okay.
I would like to say that while women have more needs in terms of like the social construct and the issues that arise therein, when we look at mental health issues and the clinical issues, I would say that it's not really biased there. it's a roughly 50-50 split, though we might find women suffering more from certain clinical conditions like borderline personality disorder or even postpartum depression, right? So that's where we find that they are pretty much equal. What I also think is men in our society are not allowed to cry. They're not allowed to admit that they have a
Good
problem.
point. Good point.
So it's not even that women are more open. I mean, they are, of course, they're more receptive. But it's, again, I would say patriarchy perhaps. So,
That's a
yeah.
good point. Actually,
Yeah.
men can't, talk
Yeah.
about their feelings or
Yeah.
the inner turmoil as much as,
Yes.
they have to
Yes.
just.
Coming to
Yeah.
neurodivergence.
Okay, let her, and then I will come to you.
Just to add on your point, so as society collectively, men are raised very different and females are raised very different. If a female is crying early in their life, it's okay, it's their expression, they're allowed to express. Whereas a man is crying, there is a stereotypical way of looking at why you're crying like a female, right?
Correct.
That's a statement that every man have heard in their life once growing up. So that restricts them, or they feel guilty about showing their emotions. So when they come up in therapy sessions also, so a lot of time the struggle is, if I'm telling this, is it okay? Is it okay to feel this way? Am
Yeah.
I allowed to feel this way? So when it comes to a female, they are more open because they feel they're allowed to. They don't have to restrict them or hide themselves. Whereas when it comes to men, they feel they have to hide. That's because they're the provider. Their roles are different than a female's role, right? They're the
That's
provider.
true.
They have to be the tough one. They have to be on the front foot to provide for their family. So they're not allowed to. If they feel weak, who's going to take care of the family behind?
With this show, more and more I'm finding that, we always think that men have all the advantage in the playing field. There are also certain stereotypes that they are confined, straight-jacketed within, they have to go and earn, they don't have a choice, while a woman can say career. Or they're not allowed to fail, they're not allowed to cry, they're not allowed to wear pink. There's like, there's a whole lot. I began the show, thinking that women are the, so-called weaker, disadvantaged, but there are certain areas where I think the men also, which we must point. There are a lot of laws that women use against men, the dowry laws. But anyway, sorry to come back to the.
So regarding neurodivergence, it's something that I've realized, it's been a while since I've realized this, that I have been somewhat different from the rest of my peers. And when I went to IIT, that's when I realized the extent of it. How I would normally think more in terms of numbers, even normally, and I have, taken therapy, and what I realized in the entire process was that I didn't really fit any clinical label or any kind of clinical diagnosis. But that
Think in
said,
terms of numbers, meaning what?
I would automatically think in terms of like numbers. Like you ask me anything and I'll have some stats, which is not like normal behavior, I suppose.
For a girl, I mean, sorry again, this is a straight jacket, but they expect
Yeah.
men to talk like that. And, or is it?
There is also neurodivergence. Anybody can be neurodivergent.
Okay.
But women who are neurodivergent find it harder to adjust to society because they tend to be more logical in their thinking. And a lot of people may think that you have a flat affect. You don't emote much. You don't have a whole lot of expressions.
They're
right? So you have
expected to be
they
more
have-
emotionally expressive or emotional.
less emotionally expressive, and that seems a little bit odd because women are supposed to smile, they're supposed to be gentle and all of that. So a lot of women start masking. So you kind of pretend that you're more sociable than you actually are.
Okay.
So that kind of inhibits your true personality from coming out. So that's also commonly seen in neurodivergence.
Now, this is interesting. So, but apart from that, it's not that you are, in terms of, a lot of people would say that, are you gay, are you lesbian, are you this thing, because they're thinking that you think like a man, are you also,
Yes.
it's not connected with that.
Yes,
It's just
they are. In fact, when I was in IIT, women were looked at as, okay, these are like men only, they think like men.
the label comes on.
The label comes on. So that way, it was somewhat hard, but it was also somewhat advantageous because in certain scenarios, it does play to your advantage if you are a woman in a, in a woman in a very large group of men. So you're allowed to shine there more. So it was kind of like a mixed bag for me in that sense. But it is certainly hard not confining to the social norm and what society expects as normal. Yeah.
How different is this? What we today call binaries, non-binaries?
No,
there's a
ma'am. That is a
sorry,
different classification. That is more to do with your sexuality and gender.
I see.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is nothing to do with
This has
sex.
nothing to do with that.
It's just how you think and how
It's
your
just how you
attitude
think
the
and how you
brain
interpret and
functions,
process
basically.
information.
and how your
Yeah.
brain
Yeah.
functions.
Brain functions.
So thank you for sharing this. I mean, I'm going to take a break, but we're going to keep the conversation going. But as I said, this is a show where we are going to be discussing mental health, mental happiness, and different kinds of states of being, in a happy, normal state of mind. So just stay with us. Hello and welcome back to We Women Want. This week we're focusing on mental health. Is this, Ambika, something you're seeing? Of course, post-pandemic, people are now talking more about it. Is there an age group that is coming forward more in terms, you talked about school kids, you talked about college kids. Are they coming out more? The older lot, a generation that was told it's not good to talk, are they also now opening up?
So yes, a trend is definitely seen in terms of what people are coming up now post-pandemic, and we can say that yes, starting from adolescents to somewhere middle-age people in general, they are coming forward more now post-pandemic, because we all suffered a lot at a psychological level, at a mental level. During pandemic times, we all were struggling with different things at that point of time.
But do you think women have come out stronger post-pandemic, because a lot of men have been housebound and they've, I think, come out with a new appreciation of the way women work and the balance that we do?
Yeah, I mean, the trend has been seen that ways. I won't really say that if it's the cause of pandemic or anything, but yeah, I mean, there has been a more approachability and accessibility that people are coming up to therapists and to psychologists, because definitely, I mean, we can't deny that if at that point of time we were undergoing some psychological issues, and I mean, the advocacy was also going on at the same time, that how is it important, why you need to take care of your mental health, how much self-care is important at that point of time. I mean,
Correct.
people, we were just locked up in our own houses only for a few months, and we went crazy. So it tells a lot about us. So yes, definitely, advocacy played a lot of role, and then people are coming out, taking access of the mental health concerns. Males, females, both are coming up. Yeah, but it helped.
It helps.
It helped.
Pandemic was one of its own kind of a trauma
Correct.
that we all collectively underwent. So when we call something traumatic in nature, there is always a post-traumatic growth. We learn something, right? Pain enables us to learn more. And when we grow out of it, that's when people realize that whatever they were using as coping, which was primarily distraction earlier, you're a little stressed, what you'll do, you go out with your friends, have a cup of coffee, or have a little chit chat time, go out for a dinner or a weekend's getaway. So all of that stopped. So you were literally stuck with your own self and the immediate people around you. So all the distractions to cope was taken away, and there was a constant threat towards your life, towards your loved ones. So your threat response. So we say that emotionally, we were threatened at that time for our loved ones, for our life, for the financial stability. We don't know when it is ending. So there was a lot of uncertainty when it is ending. What's the financial security will look like post that? So all of that together led to a lot of growth in individual also. A lot of people figure out different ways of managing themselves. A lot of people figure out generating a different source of income for that stability. So it gives you growth also, but at the same time, some people get stuck towards that traumatic response also, and they feel that their system is now continuously threatened. They are not able to cope with it. So there is a chunk of people after pandemic who started seeking therapy, and there are people who started feeling more stronger as well.
And
So it really depends upon the interaction, how it interacts with your individuality, your personality. It really depends on that.
But do you find that in terms of image and weight-related issues, is it women who are more traumatized?
I would say yes. There's a lot of focus on women with respect to how they look. And we do see a higher percentage of eating disorders in women.
That's
Right?
another issue, eating
Anorexia
disorders.
in particular, and also I would say binge eating is more commonly seen in women than men. And in general, women have, more higher degree of body dysmorphia as well. They don't appreciate their body as as much as men do. In case of men, it's more about their muscle tone. So you have muscle dysmorphia. So they want to look strong, they want to look powerful. In women, it's more about beauty or aesthetics. So that's where there's a difference. But yeah, like I think pretty much everybody is concerned with their appearance nowadays. We live in the age of social media.
Correct,
So
yeah.
all of us are concerned about how we look. Yeah.
And in terms of therapy or counseling, what would you tell people, someone with an image problem, what would you tell them?
So somebody having, concerns around body image or eating disorder, binge eating, they usually come with a lot of background having low self-esteem, first of all, because they have been continuously and repeatedly targeted by the society that you have to fit into this norm, you have to fit into this norm. And a lot of that comes from or is influenced by the media, not just social media, but I would say the film industry that we look at and the magazines and all of those things. So it's a constant struggle to fit into that normalcy. And with that, there comes a lot of bullying. Right from childhood, you're bullied if you are a little overweight, if you have acne, if you're dark in complexion. So bullying comes in. And that's the time, actually, when you are also developing your self-identity.
Correct.
You're coming out. And if that is where the society is constantly targeting you and, coming back at your identity. So obviously the self-esteem, the self-confidence starts to get lowered down. And then eventually, that's the background that they come with. Then along with that, some females, they also undergo a lot of traumatic events because of that. Maybe their family members are also, constantly targeting them for that. And then moving forward around marriage time, they face the same thing where they are again, judged at that platform.
But what about men? Do you think? Why are they not going through the same issues? Okay, they don't talk about it.
We
but
don't talk about it as much. But,
yeah.
but they most certainly are going through the same set of issues. I think in both like body related issues, the key thing is perfectionism. You're trying to conform to an ideal. So what you're trying to make people comfortable with, like my therapist, for example, her endeavor was to make me comfortable with imperfections. And the idea that I don't have to look a certain way to be good enough. So that
is
was
it
the underlying-
imperfection or being different? Divergent is the right word, no? Right?
Right. But I think
How-
all of us have some degree of dysmorphia.
Yeah.
I mean, to some extent, we all don't really like how we look. We want to improve it in some way or the other.
And 20 years later, we go back and say, oh yeah, I look so good.
Yeah, exactly. We do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But with men, I would say that the focus is more on how much they earn, little bit less on how they look. But it's, like I said, more about looking strong, looking
Is the-
powerful. Yeah, that's the thing.
So I think, is there an age we can say, like for women, looks and all is something we all are traumatized with in our 20s and 30s. Then the problems in 40s and 50s are either you're earning your position in life or whether you have kids or not. So I'm just trying to find the right question. But is it that the issues that men come with is what women deal with in their 20s is something the men deal with in their 40s? Or
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
I think for men, more is with position and power.
Huh.
They keep on growing onto that in their life. In 40s, they want to be at certain position in their life. They want to have certain power in their home, in their workplace. So that's more about it. Whereas a female, beauty has always been a standard to own up to. There are constant reminders for a female that you have to fit in. Whereas a male needs to fit in the the financial domain better than the looks.
How secure the family is, what your
So
career
what
goals
happens
are.
in the 40s to men? Why do they suddenly, the middle age crisis, why is it different from men and the women? Why do they want to go have a fling with the 20-something? And
It's caused by a lot of things actually. Of course, one is you compare. It's called the grandiosity gap. So you assume that you will be here in this position, but you're not. So there is a certain amount of, I would say, you feel like you're not good enough. That's like an undercurrent. Aside from that, I think it's also a time where you are not really the focus in the sense that your children are growing up. Now you're focused on their education. Probably they are in their 8th standard or 10th standard.
Right.
So the wife is very occupied with the child, and
he feels ignored.
To some extent, yes. So it's a bunch of factors, but basically it leads to the man thinking that is he relevant enough? Is he important enough? And I think that's
Attention seeking. Okay. What is a woman's 40-year-old crisis, midlife crisis?
So for them, it's suddenly a point where they hit with a need of stronger sense of self-identity. A female associates their identity a lot with the roles that they keep on taking. First the daughter, they want to be a good daughter. They should be a good daughter, that's the expectation. Then they get married, they want to be a good daughter-in-law, a good wife. Then they become mother, they want to be a good mother. And then when they look at the age which is midlife, now suddenly the children are in their own space. The husbands have felt ignored enough, so they're more towards the external space, and the in-law space that looks irrelevant. They've realized they've done enough. Whatever they do more is not going to justify or validate, so they start feeling crisis within themselves. So what their life was all about, they have lived a journey, they have come so far in their life, what this life is all about now, where to start, how to start, they don't have. So for females, a lot of time the self-concept becomes a crisis point. Who am I? What am I? They start discovering at that age.
So it's more internal. With men, it's probably more external.
So again, it's about, for men, they project out. It's at the end, it's internal only, but they project it. It's, they go out in the space where they are externally seeking it. But for females, they feel within themselves. So at that age, emotionally, they both are suffering, but the way they are outlooking it or coping it or trying to manage it is very different.
Just would like to add one point. That's the age where we are reflecting at ourselves, like, who am I? Where have I reached? What have I achieved? So what's my self-concept? What's my self-identity?
Correct.
And that's where, all those questions, when I don't really see an answer to, all I've been was associated
like
with
now
other people.
What else is the thing?
There's a term for this also, for the children part. It's called empty nest syndrome.
Correct. Yeah, that is also true. But on that note, I think we're out of time. So thank you so much for this conversation, and we'll see you again same time next week.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.